Alright, so here's my Moto Guzzi V9 bopper. So I just got this almost a week ago. Tomorrow will probably be a week, I think. So the guy, did stuff to it like most people do. One of which is cutting out the baffle here on the exhaust to basically make it louder. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna try to put it back to stock as much as I can. And I'm not sure what's there. I mean, he has these little inserts here. This is, that's what went inside. But I'm not sure if there's anything else that's missing. It seems like there might be, but I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know what the original one looks like here. So that's yeah. I need to look at the original one, an unmolested one, to see what that looks like. So purpose of this video is to just see how this sounds. But before I do that, I have to talk about other stuff. Let's talk about the exhaust. This is the stock exhaust, obviously. So let's look at it. So there's a cover here, and this is actually the can. So this is the cover. So obviously the header right here. The header. Let's see. The header, I think it goes straight through here. Then from here there's a cover, right? So this is still part of the length of the header. There's an O2 sensor down right in here, and you can see the cable for it. You go into here. This is where the can starts, right about here. The slip-on part of it is about right here, where the right just after the pegs. That's where you could unclamp it, and you could take this back end off. This the slip on and off, right? Before that, further up in here, right after where the O2 sensor, there's another tube here. That's the connected tube between the left and right side of the exhaust. So let's actually see if we can see it from down in here. Yeah, so you can see that right here. That's the connected pipe. Well, actually, you can actually see the other side of the exhaust on this side. So you can see where the connector is over here. Right, connector is over here. Then where this part that slips on is right there. Then basically you have the can here, right? The start of the can, it's right here. Then and it goes back. So it's smaller. It's it's smaller here than and the taper is larger, and it's rectangular until about right here, where the actual can is. Then it just basically it's another cylinder. So this is a cylinder here, and this is another cylinder here. Well, actually, you know what? I take that back. This is not a cylinder. This right here is the cone shape, right? So the cone shape, right? Smaller, and it tapered out to larger. So so the catalytic converter, I believe, I'm not sure if it's right here. I don't think it is. It's possible that it's right here where that cone shape is, but I think it's actually further up. I think it's actually further like up over here somewhere. And the reason why I think that is because I can actually, you look at the end here, and I'll show you that in a minute. Look at the end here. You actually see the catalytic converter, and it's all the way up right here. And this catalytic converter usually is not that big. It's usually, so I'm guessing it's probably where the can starts right here to about maybe near halfway, or just before halfway, I think, is how long the catalytic converter is, and it's pretty much just full length here. Or I should say full length. I should say full diameter here. All right. So that's it. Let's look inside it. Just look inside this thing. Get my flashlight here. So you see. So if you see it, you see that there's three. Basically, there's three openings, right? Get the flashlight in there. So there's three openings. And if you look on the, let's see. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I think the catalytic converter does start where the can flares out. So before where it flares out right here, it was just a cylinder. I think that's where the catalytic converter is. So looking at it right now with the flashlight, looking at the depth of it, I could actually I kind of gauge that it lines up with where the tapered part ends and where's the cylinder. So okay, so that's part of there's the cat, and you can actually see the top hole. See the little mesh. The camera's not focusing. So anyways, there's a little mesh on the top hole over there. That mesh is the catalytic converter. Let's see. Oh, come on, let's focus. Yeah, so yeah, that's about as best as it can focus. So anyways, yeah, so that the mesh in there, that's the catalytic converter. It goes out there, right? So let's call that post catalytic converter. So this can actually has 3 chambers. So the catalytic converter ends right here, or it starts, it starts up here. It starts up here, and it ends right here. And so from here, let's call this post catalytic converter. So there's actually 3 chambers. It's not equal. It's not equal. The chambers are not not equal. They're probably the first chamber is probably a little bit bigger than the middle chamber, and the end chamber. It's it's a little bit more shorter compared to the first chamber. Okay. So with that said, again, back to the top hole. So the top hole is where the catalytic converter is. That's where the post cat chamber. So let's call that the first post cat chamber, or the first chamber. Then it goes out from there. The top hole. From there, it goes out into this back chamber, where my finger is right here. Right? This back chamber right here, where you see the 3 holes. Right, the back end of the 3 holes. So that's the back chamber. So it goes from the front chamber to the back chamber, and from the back chamber, and you see the other 2 holes here. One of them has a little tubing to it, and the other one doesn't. So from this back chamber, the exhaust gas will go into the middle chamber, and it goes through the middle chamber on the bottom right hole with a little tubing right here. So where my flashlight is mostly shining at. So that would be that. So the back chamber into the middle chamber through that right tube right here, where the tubing is. Then from the middle chamber, it goes out this left hole. This left hole with no tubing, right? So that left hole with no tubing is where this comes in. So this insert, basically, this end here is what goes into that hole, that left hole. Right, so this insert right here goes into that left hole, where there's no tubing. So that connects the middle chamber, basically out into the tailpipe. So something like that, right? So something like that. So that's how it works. So let's review that. After the cat right here, it goes into the first chamber. Then from there, there's a little tubing that brings it into the back chamber. Then there's another little tubing that goes into the middle chamber, and from the middle chamber connects into this insert here, this tubing basically, and it goes out the back end, which is the exhaust tip, right? So what this guy did here, let's look at this thing, is basically he took a hose saw and he's hose saw this out, and it came right out. So that's what he did. So I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure if there's something else that's here, that's between the tip here and here. I have no idea, because I never seen the original. So I need to go see someone's original, or maybe go to the dealership or something like that, and just have a peek at it and see what it looks like. But anyways, so that's the hose saw there. That's what he did. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick this on, because I need to figure out which side switch, because there is, originally I guess both of these are pretty much look the same, but how he hose sawed it, you see how it's not uniform around with the tubing. It's not centered. Right? It's not concentric with the tubing, right? So for example, this part right here is shorter, and this part right here is shorter. It's where the bend is, right? So actually, this one's very similar. The short end bend, but it's not quite the same. You know, it's not quite the same witness point. Witness point there. So it's slightly off on the clock. It's probably like 1 or 2 hours off. If you're looking at it from an hour clock point of view. So I have to figure out which side is which. I don't know which side is which yet. So this side here, we see the cat chamber is on the hole on the top, into the and then it goes into the back, and it goes in from the back. It goes through the right hole with the tubing into the middle chamber, out the left hole into the tailpipe. Right. So the other side is a little bit different. Let's see if I can get this camera steady right here. So this side is slightly different. The cat is on the left side instead of a top hole, because the other one, the cat was mostly the top. It wasn't 12 o'clock at the top. It was like more like probably like 1 o'clock at the top. So this one right here is more like 11 o'clock at the top. Then the right top hole goes from the back chamber to the middle chamber. Then the bottom hole, at about 6 o'clock, goes from the middle chamber out the tailpipe. So they're slightly different. And actually, looking at the way that he cut the hole right here, this not this one here, but this one right here, this hole here, where he cut with the hose saw, it's not concentric with this outer hole. So it's actually the two top edge where my fingers are right here. They line up closer than this bottom two edge right here. Actually, this 9 o'clock lines up closer, and the 3 o'clock is further apart. So I have to kind of figure out which side is which as far as the tip goes. This one right here, the 7 o'clock is closer together with these two holes here. How concentric it is. They're lined up, but the 2 o'clock up here, up right here, they are actually farther apart. So yeah, again, I have to figure it out. So the result of taking this off, basically, obviously, it makes it louder, and you can hear everything basically. But it's not as loud as you would think, and the reason why it's not as loud as you would think is because of the catalytic converter that's in there. The catalytic converter is, it acts as a restrictor, right? And it also quiets things down a little bit, versus aftermarket pipe that doesn't have that, and it's more straight through. Those pipes are really loud. You listen to any Harley, and you hear how loud they are. That's a perfect example. And this one it sounds very similar because it's a twin. Different angle, obviously. Different. This is a 90-degree V-twin, which is a Harley is I think a Harley uses 20 something degrees or whatever it is. I have no idea. I'm not a Harley person. But anyways, so different angles, so it sounds a little bit different. But still V-twin sounding. But this one, because of the cat, it's much quieter. It has a deep rumble, and it sounds. Actually, I really like the sound. I really like the sound, and normally I probably would be okay with the sound because it's not that loud, it's not obnoxious. But the reason why I want to put these back is because I think the way that it is right now, cut open like this, more open, I think it causes drivability issues. Basically, I think the bike is running slightly on the lean side because it's opened up like this. So once I put these inserts back in, it's gonna basically be quiet again. So it won't be as loud, but hopefully the running is gonna be a little bit smoother. There's certain as I'm going, as I give it gas on certain I don't know what RPM, because this thing doesn't have a tachometer, but at certain RPMs I could feel like a little bit of a bog, and I think that's the fueling problem because the inserts are out and it makes it a little bit on the lean side. So I think it's a little bit of a lean bog. So hopefully once I put these in, that will go away. It would be smoother as far as this, throttle goes and throttle response. And hopefully, maybe it'll give me a little bit more torque. Maybe the weight like this, since it's more open, it might have possible that it's a little bit more horsepower, but you lose a little bit of torque. Once you put this on, maybe the horsepower might not be as much, but the torque will be a little better. So that's what I'm hoping, because I don't care about horsepower. This bike is not about horsepower. This bike is about torque, flat torque curve, and and very low on the rev range, where the torque kicks in and it stays flat pretty much the whole time. So I really like it. So with that said, let's listen to how this cutout baffle sound. Okay, so right now I'm using obviously an iPhone. I'm using a first generation iPhone SE with the let me see, the microphone is Rode. I guess that's how you pronounce it, RODE, Rode. So I have my tape measure here. I'm gonna set it out to 10 feet, and at a 45-degree angle from the bike, basically. 45-degree angle. The microphone is gonna be even with the microphone's gonna be even with the microphone's gonna be even, even with the with that 10 feet, and at the other end, that where the tape measure ends, it's literally right underneath the edge of the where the microphone opening is. I mean, not the microphone, the exhaust tape opening is. So I've been riding for over 3 hours today, so my engine is still hot. Everything's still hot. I just got home. I'm just gonna turn it on. You hear how it, obviously a warm startup instead of a cold startup. So warm startup, I'm gonna turn it on, let it rev or let it sit for a few seconds, just so you can hear how it idles. Then I'm gonna give it a few revs, just to see how it sounds when it revs. And obviously, once I release the throttle, you also hear how it sounds with the throttle release. There's goggling and popping and all this other stuff. I think you hear more when you're actually moving, when there's actual load on the engine, versus sitting here with no load on the engine. So it's gonna sound a little bit different, but you get somewhat of an idea. It sounds really cool. I really like it. It's very deep rumble. It sounds like an old muscle car, like an old, the old muscle car with the V8s, carbureted, from the way back in the day. Not quite like the modern muscle cars. Modern muscle cars don't sound the same. But yeah, the old V8 muscle cars with the carbureted, was it 4-barrel or whatever, carbs. That's what it sounds very similar to that. That cross-plane crank. So yeah, so let me get light it up. How it sounds. Yeah, so it definitely sounds different when it's just sitting there with no load on the engine. When there's load on the engine, it sounds a lot better, I think. And when you have positive load or negative load, when you're on the gas versus engine braking and such, it sounds different. Versus between shifts, maybe you're accelerating and you're upshifting. It sounds different versus decelerating and downshifting. It sounds different. Where you're pulling the clutch, sounds different. It pops and stuff. So this doesn't really give it a very good example. And unfortunately, I don't have a way of mounting a camera on the bike. If I did, I probably would do it and just so you guys could hear it. But anyways, yeah. So that's the Moto Guzzi V9 bobber with the baffle removed. So I'm gonna put these things back in here, weld it back up. I'm gonna do that soon, hopefully sometime this week, and we'll see how it sounds after that, and also how it drives, the drivability. So I'm guessing it's gonna be really quiet, and drivability hopefully will be better, smoother. All right, so there it is again, the Popper V9. Thanks for watching.